Hey guys, Ballatw here, back with another video, and I was looking at the solo cash cup results this week, and basically, usually I do this, take stock of who ends up placing up top, but other than that, I usually don't see too much crazy. But this week I did, because Mackwood won 3 games, which all 3 of them came in a row. Right away, that's turning my head. Right away, I'm like, okay, I have to figure out what actually happened. I have to watch these games, and thankfully I can, because they finally turned replay mode on. So today in this video, we're going to be trying to answer, how does he win more consistently like this, and also in a row? How do you actually close out these games? And the cool thing about this, and the reason why I really looked into it, is that he's done this before. Actually, he's done it even more in an impressive way, but unfortunately we weren't able to watch those because replays were off. But he won 3 games in a row in a cash cut back in December, where they were clutching to win the tournament, to actually win the cash cup, which is crazy to me. So there must be something special about how Mackwood plays, and maybe some of the other guys, because by all means, this is not like, okay, this isn't something that nobody has ever done before, but I still find it very interesting. So we're gonna take a look at those and try to basically answer the question, how is he actually winning out some of these games and doing it consistently too? I did want to show you guys how to watch replays if you've never really looked at them. I know I get this question a lot, so I figured might as well do it since I'm on the match history page. Basically, you go to compete tab, you go to the leaderboard as you normally would. You click on the session, and then you go to the match history and click the games you want to watch. It says watch over here. Solo Cash Cup was just added recently. I'm going to skip the first game because most of the time it was just W King, but in any case. Okay, so Mackwood lands craggy cliffs every game. You should be familiar with this if you aren't already. In any case, one thing that I noticed immediately was that he's landing at the building right here that has the balcony rather than sticks, rather than the big main restaurant which has the slurp barrels. And I try to answer that, like, that question to me is like, why would you do that when there's a slurp barrels? You get free shield there. But I think that this positioning is maybe slightly more optimal to take early fights. The chest density is also really good compared to the restaurant where you have to go all over the place to grab chests. Okay, so he lands down in Doom's domain, gets the cabbages to get back up to high HP, which, you know, is really nice example of map knowledge that everybody should have on their routes. But this is where he picks up his first car. All the way in Doom's domain, zone goes to Sweaty Sands. And I don't know why he ruins the spirit of Halloween and ruins this poor person's front lawn, but in any case, screw the fences. Let's see how far he gets with this car. And we are playing in a solo cash cup, so you have to remember the games aren't the most stacked. You won't be able to do this in a DreamHack final, but all the way down and even in here to where he eventually does make a garage, very close right here. And he also makes sure that his car is full HP, full gas before basing it up. And like the old days of ballers, he'll base it up, he'll make a garage for it and start to refarm. Plays passive from here on out, which obviously you have the shift after that first game into the higher point lobbies. You have to start playing a little bit more passive, but he's not the most, you know, he's not playing 100% not to find engagements ever. He will dive on opportunities, but you clearly see a shift in his play style from first couple of games to the next. You also don't have to be as, I don't know, careful when you're termiting, when you're refarming in cash cups because of how little people there are alive. 31 in this. No, not the most stacked. Sweaty Sands is definitely getting a lot of congestion right now, but there's a high probability, you know, you don't have to be replacing every wall, every window, stuff like that. And this is right where I was basically like, wow, he's really checking every single floor spawn, just making sure to see if there's any little thing that can help him. Just a couple shockwaves, a couple extra crash pads can make a huge difference in your ideal loadout. I think one of the nice parts where you're not playing super careful, you're kind of just roaming around the building, farming what you want and not necessarily taking every single wall for full safety like you would do in a grand finals, allows you to find opportunities. And like I said, not necessarily the most passive player, but certainly is playing passive right here. There's an opportunity on this guy that's chasing truck for whatever reason. He's kind of already in zone, but Mackwood sees that and he'll pounce. But the other thing too is it shows, and you have this a lot in cash cups where people see weakness in you and they will dive in your box and play really aggressive where you don't want to be. If you're kind of roaming around a house like that, sure, you might be exposing yourself a little bit more, you might be taking a little bit more risk, but it also makes it seem like you're not, you know, an awful player who has a full 1x1 built up in a cash cup where there's only 25 people up and, you know, completely devoid of any ideas of fighting at all. But anyways, he almost gets a kill there. And then once again changes cars. He saw the whiplash. He's like, hey, this has more speed. We'll see why. He kind of revealed the secret sauce a little bit on refreshes later on, but I think that'll be next. Okay, so here, 4 zones revealed. It's about to start closing, and he kind of just wants to start preparing angles. And it's not like a baller, right? You can't just break through or jump over every single little thing. So it is important to look for these ideas. Sometimes a space might be blocked off if the zone does go in that direction. So just breaking it preemptively to get as far as you can with your car is quite nice. Other than that, he's just looking for opportunities. And that opportunity does come. We get 6th zone or 5th zone revealed. He'll get his whiplash and go. And he actually goes towards where there's going to be people. But look at this poor soul. Look at this poor soul. That Mackwood was teasing us, saying it was, you know, the secret sauce to how he wins so many games. But apparently you can just dive through boxes with cars, especially on this 5th zone rotate when people are really, really, you know, focused on making their rotate. This is a perfect timing window for just refreshes in general, but even going further. But once again, another garage for his whiplash. If you're in that position, you might build a 4x1, right? You might build those extra 2 walls to complete a nice big base for you and your car, just because you're not on the grid. But Mackwood makes sure that he does not build extra. And that's something I'll get into a little bit deeper later on, is that mat efficiency and how he's actually able to spend and save mat so that in the end game, he always has a significant surplus compared to everybody else. Once again, these are cash cups, so they're not the most stacked games, but it is probably, you know, the majority of what we play. In general, we're not all playing that top tier high point lobbies, but it's still interesting, and there are still things to learn that you can transition into, you know, more finals type stacked games. But it is certainly different than what you normally would be playing. And we're off to the races. Mackwood out the gate backwards. But yeah, I think this, just seeing this, I knew Baller Meta was kind of back when Mars won DreamHack by, you know, being in his car the entire time. But I think at this point, it's safe to say, why not use cars like this, right? Okay, so the fun part about this is Mackwood doesn't go, he just gets to the edge of zone right as it reveals and as we go. And he takes the time to be aggressive. Why? Because he can actually get back into the car later on, right? He's not just riding it around waiting for free placement points. He's actually using it kind of tactically, right? So it's not fully risk averse. He's still taking risks. In this case, trying to use this car to buy him time and get himself impacts, but he hasn't built at all. And he's still going aggressive. Here, he takes the opportunity because he heard Advent get cracked, that there's no point not to go for this. And then I love this, getting out of the box first. But look how he catches himself on a mid-ground layer and then assesses the situation. He's able to reconnect really nicely. And he still has only played and used a total of, what, 20 mats here? High ground is really easy. The game only has 8 people alive. So, you know, these are the kinds of things that you expect in Cash Cups, especially only your second really good game. I still want to note one final time in this game, as we watch the end of it, he has 118 builds in 7th zone. And height. Obviously a lot to do with how he had 6 shockwaves and 6 crash pads, but mostly it was the car and his smart decisions and his efficiency with his building on how he's, you know, timing this end game. There's one. Yes. Not sure how Snake was not able to get out of that. Maybe edit out the back, but in any case. Okay, these are actually the situations I want to study a little bit when you get down to that top 4 situation, when you get down to the top 3 where the game will end within the next minute, because, you know, that gets to the root of the question. I'm actually very surprised to see him have 3 wins in a row and jumping down like that, but I guess the idea is maybe to test the waters a little bit. And once again, going down, trying to challenge. You know, that wasn't a replay bug, him dropping down, or it just kind of predicted. But in any case, this guy down below, he sees that he's kind of aggressive. He might be shambles, wants to go back up. Shockwave out in the zone is just a very easy tactic. I mean, we've all lived through season 3, but then the final moment too, the 1v1, how do you convert? This guy down below actually does have a significant amount of mats. Mackwood knows though that he didn't have the time to heal. He already hit him. He traded a little bit earlier. So it's fine for him to go down and trade. But once again, I'm surprised by how he drops down there, given that he does have minis, he does have time if he wants to, because he has, you know, so many mats. This guy had no heals. So is the idea just to finish it off? He knows he's low. I want to make sure that I, you know, take the time to do this before he really is able to, I don't know, get out of this. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you guys know a little bit better. Maybe you guys can enlighten me, or we can all come to a conclusion together. But in any case, it works out. So what I learned from this is you don't always have to play completely safe. Sometimes you could sometimes drop down and catch your opponent by surprise to close out a game a little faster. I think if he, trades poorly in this case, probably goes back up and plays it a little safer. But in any case, on to the next game. Okay, so next game, two people laying Craggy, and he ends up having to fight one of them early, a guy who he knows has, similar loadout, similar loot to what he ends up getting. But very quickly, there's another player here, and he's focused on making sure that there's no cheeky shots, not focused on the loot. He could have got an upgrade there, but in any case, because he knows that this guy had more time to loot because these guys fought first, Mackwood's idea is quickly, let's get away from here and let's try to disengage if we can. And I like how it all plays out. There's actually some nice box fight tactics, but goal right now, try to get away, get some heals, maybe find some upgrades, because this guy will have a loot imbalance on you for sure. And then I love this. Grabbing the car to reposition an early game works really well, and even better is to just escape with a rift. Mackwood is completely shambles, but thankfully he has a bailout when I landing at Craggy Cliffs, and then goes by the name of Stark Industries Vault, baby. Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how lucky we are in this one. White pump to purple pump, gold AUG, and crash pads too. And then he has the time to farm up and whatnot. Still only 3 builds, but man, that works out really, really nice, I guess. Okay, so he ended up picking up a start car and takes it all the way through. He stopped in Salty Springs earlier, garaged it, and started farming up, and also kind of engaged a little bit. But once again, he'll garage it efficiently, only a 2x1 in that third zone. There's actually so many people doing this. It's really a free center third zone rotation that I think everybody should make sure that they're trying to secure. If they can get a car, you're basically free towards at least getting into third zone and potentially even getting all the way to center. So similar timing to last time, he actually gets a refresh, thankfully. Actually, kind of nice positioning here. Like on the side of the hill where people would actually run up. When you sit in your cone and you're at the top of your base, a lot of times you're not going to have these people, run by you. But when you're down here on a hill and you're on top of your cone, or you're inside of your cone when it's going up an incline, that can catch people off guard as it does Funk there. In any case, gets the refresh. Look at his mats, 145. Okay, 1 crash pad, 2 crash pads to get all the way through. Basically only spent 7 mats, gets up above. And then from here, he's basically going to turn and fight for heights. Given that everybody's still coming off of that hill, uses a nice cheap tarp, but he's right up there. He's right up there and able to actually push onto this guy. Almost gets the full kill, but in any case, now he has height. All he has to do is hold, and he did it with 90 mats. Similar situation the last time. He basically has a wealth up on heights that he can take advantage of. Okay, so top 3. Somebody did end up shockwaving over, taking height from him, but he just goes right back at it. Nice chop. Forces the guy down, and let's do a check on everybody else. Mackwood's at 27 builds, Quaz at 17. He just fought for height. Riftmole just got an impact down on lows at 31. So with all that said, Mackwood is still pretty even with the remaining players that he's going to have to face, which means he's done very well efficiency-wise. Obviously, he had height for so much. That guy left it open. Qual might have run out of builds eventually. Now the final 1v1. So many people choke situations like this, and they almost both choke. But in any case, there you go. I don't know if we're going to be able to actually say anything conclusively about how Mackwood is consistently staying at a high win rate in Cash Cups, but it was fun nonetheless. I think for sure we learned how good cars can be in solos, especially in Cash Cups, especially in unstacked games. That one, his car got kind of knocked out a little earlier than the first win, but boxing it up, garaging your cars, is just too easy. There is, a balance for him. He's not the most passive player, but he's also, not super risky compared to somebody like Benji, who's like completely, he's like, oh, a risk, let me take it. I think he's in a nice safe spot, which allows him to get set up very, very nicely and allows him to consistently be in a spot where he should be able to place well. Then the last thing I think for sure is mat efficiency in endgame, being able to, easily take height, but also the way he quickly reconnects to these weird second height layers and is able to assess the situation very fast. It's something that I noticed. I don't know if that actually shows through in all of his games, but whenever he is in that final situation, you don't see him when he's winning actually be low materials or anything like that. So that certainly helps. Guys, I hope you liked this video. Let me know what kind of questions you guys want to see, us try to answer that are interesting to you and maybe we can learn from. So let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and do all the things on my social media, and we'll be back with more content just like this. Peace.